Alright, everybody. G-Funk here. Off topic video. Normally I do boxing, but hey, this is my channel and I'm going to do whatever I want. And I'm going to talk about the NBA real quick and the All-Star reserves that were released today by the NBA. And me being a lifelong Kings fan and a person who lives in Sacramento, I mean, it's completely just disrespectful to not have Demarcus Cousins on this team, not even as a backup, It's sad, man. I mean, listen to this guy's numbers. 23 points per game, 12 rebounds per game, and this guy can't get on, I mean, I don't know what an all-star is then if those numbers can't get you on, okay? Now, I know what the problem is, but I'm gonna just talk about Cousins for a little bit in these numbers and how he does not get on with these numbers. I mean, I don't understand. I mean, the guy is I think he's fifth or sixth in scoring. That's overall everybody in the NBA. He's fourth in double doubles at 26, third in rebounding, 11th in blocks per game, and he's not an all-star. I mean, give me a break. I mean, this is complete hate, and it's ass backwards, man. That's exactly what it is. These coaches who make these reserves, I mean, they strictly look at the way the team is playing when that has absolutely nothing to do with it. I mean, it has nothing to do with what's going on with all-star games. I mean, we're talking about players. We're not talking about a team record. If that was the case, we could just take Golden State, and they'll represent all of the Western Conference, and then we'll take the Atlanta Hawks, and they'll go ahead and represent all of the Eastern Conference, and then that's your all-star game right there, because those are the two best teams from each conference. If it's all about winning, like some of these idiot analysis talk about. You see him on TNT. You see Shaq. Like I said, I'm a lifelong Kings fan, and Shaq was on those teams where the Kings and the Lakers went back and forth, and even Shaq came on, and I know he's got stock in the team. He's a partial owner, but still, he makes a great point when it says this is about individuals. This is not about team success. It has nothing to do with that. We're talking about all-star players, okay? Not all-star teams. You can't blame it on one player because the team sucks, It's not the player's job to put good players around a good player to make a team win. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's not Cousins' job to go out and look for guys to trade for. It's not his job to go out and scout talent on the road for drafting or things like that. That's the general manager's job. That's ownership's job. It's not his. It wasn't his fault that they decided to fire the coach after we had a winning record in the beginning of the year. That wasn't his decision to do that. And then after we got rid of the coach, the team fell apart. We won 5 games since then. That's not his fault. You can't put that on one player. And that goes for not just Demarcus Cousins, but any other player that gets snubbed from an all-star game when they're clearly having an all-star year according to the numbers. You can't blame them for that. This is exactly why I don't blame guys like Charles Barkley for never winning a championship, or Patrick Ewing, or a lot of these great players that never won, because it's not their job to build the team. They play with they do the best with what they have out there, and that's all you can ask from them. Until you start getting some good role players around these guys, okay, then we can start talking, But it's not their fault. They don't build the teams. They go out there and they score points. That's their job. And to me, Demarcus Cousins is clearly, if not the best, but the second best center in the league behind Anthony Davis, And really, he's not that far behind Anthony Davis in any category. Cousins, like I said, Cousins is averaging just under 24 points per game at 23.8. You got the Anthony Davis, 24.5. He's shooting a better field goal percentage. Anthony Davis making 55% of his shots, which is a great field goal percentage. Cousins at 48, so he's making just under half his shots per game, which is very efficient. You go to the rebounding. Cousins is averaging more rebounds than him. He's averaging 2 more rebounds than Anthony Davis. Now, he's averaging more assists than Anthony Davis. 2 more assists. And then you got Anthony Davis averaging almost 2 more blocks than Cousins per game. So, it's really not that big of a difference there. And, the problem that I have is, Anthony Davis made the team last year strictly because the game was in New Orleans and they put him on there. And it's like, they just, I don't know why they're crowning this guy already when it's close. I mean, you heard the numbers right now. It's close. You know what I'm saying? It's not like he's miles ahead of Cousins. They're pretty much even at this point in their careers right now and the numbers that they're putting up. I mean, and if, like I said, you want to go back to this team success thing? Last time I checked, the New Orleans Hornets were in last place. They might have a better record than the Kings do, but they're in last place. We're not in last place in our division, I mean, and then not to mention, you got, on the reserves, you got Tim Duncan making the team. The guy's averaging, let's see, Tim Duncan this year. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? I'm not a hater on Tim Duncan, all right? I love Tim Duncan. I always have loved Tim Duncan's game. I think he's a throwback to when the game was at its best. He could have played in the 80s, in the 70s with those guys. To me, the 80s and the 90s were like the golden era of basketball, to me, in my opinion. And he could have played in that time because of his game. He's very fundamental. That's why they called him the big fundamental. But I mean, come on, this year the guy's averaging 14 points per game. He's not the same player that he was when he was winning MVPs back in the day, And like I said, this is not hating on Tim Duncan. I love Tim Duncan. You could put Tim Duncan in the top 10 best players of all time if possible. You could say he's the best power forward ever. But this is not about what you've done in the past. This is about what you're doing right now. And right now, he's not on that all-star level like he used to be. I mean, over Demarcus Cousins? You got to be kidding me. Even look at some of the other guys that have made the team that are in his position, like Blake Griffin is a starter. Cousins averaging more points than Blake Griffin. You know what I'm saying? He's killing him as far as points. He's getting them in blocks. He's getting them in rebounds. His field goal percentages are about the same. I mean, really, it's sad that the NBA cannot correct this thing. They need to stop going off of this team success crap when we're talking about individual things, individual accolades. It sucks, man. And to me, it really goes back to the days of Michael Jordan. Back in the 80s when you had a lot of these players playing, you had three of the best players, possibly to ever play the game in Larry Bird, Magic Johnson, and Michael Jordan, all playing in the same decade in the 80s. The problem was critics were always hating on a guy like Michael Jordan because he came in, he was winning scoring titles, he was getting MVPs, winning Defensive Players of the Year, but he couldn't get his team to the finals like Bird and Magic could. And that's something that they always hated on him. Well, yeah, he might be able to score, but he can't get his team over the hump. That's just ridiculous, And that's where it all comes from. That's why people do these stupid ring counting crap. Like, oh, well, they got more rings, so they're better. But no, that doesn't matter if we're talking about players. Rings have nothing to do with it. If you're gonna compare one individual player to another, you gotta go off what they're doing, the numbers. You know what I'm saying? Who's more efficient on the floor? Who's doing this better? Who's doing that better? It has nothing to do with team success, man. These guys don't build these teams. You know what I'm saying? If you compare those rosters from the Bulls in the 80s to the rosters that the Celtics and the Lakers had. You know what I'm saying? It was not even close. I mean, they have all-stars all over the place on the Lakers and the Celtics. You know what I'm saying? And you got Michael Jordan playing by himself. Until they got Scottie Pippen. And even then, Pippen, he wasn't killing it like that. You know what I'm saying? He was a role player. Now, you might say he's one of the best role players ever, but still, he was a role player. Look, did he do anything after Michael left? Think about it. When Michael retired the first time, they weren't really shit. The Bulls weren't really nothing. I think they did I don't know if they made the conference finals or not that year without him, but I know they made the playoffs the first year, but the second year that he wasn't there, they sucked. They were barely winning. And then, like I said, those guys went away from Michael Jordan and they did nothing. They did absolutely nothing on their own. Or like when Pippen went to Houston, a lot of people forget about that. He was nothing, He didn't do shit there. So anyway, this is just a little rant. I'm getting ready to close it up here. But like I said, man, I don't want to hear anybody talking about team, this, team that. That shit don't matter, man. Okay, this is talking about individual players, the best players from the conference, not from the best players that are on the best teams, That's just stupid in my opinion. And like I said, if you disagree, let me know. Bring your argument to the table. But like I said, Demarcus Cousins, he deserves to be on this team. As far as a couple others like Kyrie Irving, I don't think made it. And a few other people out there, man. But I mean, really, to have guys like Tim Duncan, like I said, who's averaging 14 points per game, has no business on this team. I mean, Kevin Durant also is a guy you can question because he's missed a lot of games. Now, I know Durant is an MVP. He's won, I think, 4 straight scoring titles. I mean, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. But at the end of the day, he hasn't played a whole lot of games the first half of the season. So how could you put him on the team, I mean, I don't know, man. To me, it's not fair, man. They don't pick these players the right way going off team success. It makes absolutely no sense to me. You can't penalize a player because the people who run the franchise don't know what the hell they're doing. The player on the floor is out there killing it, and he deserves to make the team. And you can't be rewarding these guys like Kobe Bryant and Tim Duncan, who are great players in the past that are barely hanging on to their careers now, and just reward them just because they were great years ago. It doesn't make sense. I'm sorry, it just doesn't to me. So anyways, drop your comments. Let me know what's going on. G-Funk, and I'm out.